Hello, my name is Mr. Byron Scott McLaughlin. I was born in the United States in 1954. I'm 62 years old. I'm the General Director of the United Seafood Packers Joint Stock Company located in Binh Duong Province, which is 45 minutes from Ho Chi Minh City. Our USPC company is a 70% foreign-owned enterprise exporting thousands of frozen fish containers to more than 50 countries over a 10-year period. Very unfortunately, we got into a commercial dispute in October 2012 with a Vietnamese raw material supplier who, as it turns out, is a real gangster. Sadly speaking, our USPC company was destroyed in 2014 by the Binh Duong Police after they arrested our Vice Director on fabricated criminal charges, resulting in losses of more than $20 million to our USPC shareholders. A huge, huge loss for us. I wish to share with the listeners of YouTube in Vietnam and all over the world my personal story on how it relates to the Binh Duong Police. I started working in Vietnam in 1996 as a seafood importer and trader, and over a 19-year period invested in 3 export production factories in Binh Duong Province, which is a city full of industrial factories with thousands and thousands of foreign investors. On September 25, 2012, our USPC Joint Stock Company signed an export authorization contract to ship frozen tuna loins on behalf of a raw material dealer named Tuna Fish Binh Dinh Joint Stock Company, who is from the Binh Dinh province. This export authorization agreement 001-2012 USPC/VS clearly states that USPC would provide export services and borrow out our USPC factory FDA code as to allow the Tuna Fish Binh Dinh Joint Stock Company the opportunity to access the U.S. market. On October 6, 2012, as the General Director of the USPC company, I personally mandated the cargo output note, and I also signed the Export Customs Declaration to ship the frozen tuna loins to a company in New York, USA. On October 20th, the payment from the U.S. buyer arrived into the USPC bank account. Naturally, our company requested a legal invoice so I could effect the payment of the 11,062 kg of frozen tuna loins to the Tuna Fish Binh Dinh Joint Stock Company. Although the wife of the owner of the Tuna Fish Binh Dinh Joint Stock Company stepped in, the gangster type of person, and she demanded that USPC pay in cash with no invoice, which is contrary to the terms listed in the export authorization agreement and also against the Vietnamese tax law. So of course, I said no, we wouldn't pay in cash. Like most foreign businessmen, I'm very careful about the financial rules in Vietnam, which specify that any transaction over 20 million must be paid by transfer against a real invoice. That is the law. Thereafter, the fish dealer lady said to me, "Mr. Byron, this is Vietnam. You are not in the United States, and soon you will know my power in Binh Duong." Sure enough, on October 26th, 2012, the Binh Duong Police summoned our Vice Director and accused her and our USPC company of stealing 11,062 kg of frozen tuna loins. It was so crazy to listen to the logic of the Binh Duong Police, because our Vice Director was not even at the USPC factory the day the goods were outputted and exported. So how could she be involved in stealing? Our Vice Director explained to the police that our General Director is Mr. Byron McLaughlin, myself, and under Vietnam law, the General Director must be responsible for all legal issues related to the company. But they didn't seem to care. They just accused the vice director of taking the goods. That's all. We even showed the Binh Police the export authorization contract, but they said it was worthless. Had no meaning. Even if it was stamped and signed by both companies, they didn't care. The Binh Police said we must return the 11,062 kg of frozen tuna loins back to the fish dealer as to avoid being arrested. Yes, they said we would be arrested. So did we have a choice? In late 2012, under my direction, the USPC company returned the frozen tuna loins back to Vietnam. We then called the Tuna Fish Binh Duong Joint Stock Company to please come to our factory and pick up their frozen tuna loins. But the gangster fish lady refused again. Tuna Fish Binh Duong didn't even bother to come to our factory and make an inspection on the returned goods. So the case just stays suspended for 2 years. Our USPC company kept sending repeated letters asking the Tuna Fish Binh Duong Joint Stock Company to please take back the 11,062 kg of tuna loins, or at least issue a legal invoice so we could pay them. Or come to the USPC factory to clear the dispute. But we only got silence from them and the fish dealer lady. 2 years later, on November 18, 2014, the Binh Duong Police came to the USPC factory and arrested our vice director as the police accused her of stealing the frozen tuna loins that had been exported under contract and tax evasion in her personal name. It was totally crazy. Our vice director was taken to prison. We lost all contact with her for 5 months. Nobody was allowed to even see her, no lawyer, nothing. Total lockdown. 1 week after the vice director had been arrested, the fish dealer lady came to the USPC factory with a big smile on her face and demanded $300,000 from me in order to stop the case. I said no. After the shocking arrest, the word of our vice director being taken spread around to our suppliers, banks, customers, as our buyers started to cancel sales contracts. All our main staff quit as they were so scared. It was really horrible. I had no choice but to close down all the factories. I sent out calling for help letters to the chairman of the People's Committee in Binh Duong, begging for his consideration to help get Ms. Tran, our vice director, released from jail. And finally, 7 months later, they released our vice director. On September 2015, the Binh Duong Police issued a conclusion report accusing our vice director of stealing 11,062 kg of frozen tuna loins in her personal name. And they said she took the money for her personal self. But of course, with no any kind of evidence. Just because the police said so. That is the way it is. The Binh Duong Police are always right. They have all the power, even with zero evidence. That's the way it is in Binh Duong. I sent out more than 260 calling for help letters to every office of the entire government of Vietnam, explaining that the Binh Duong Police had totally manufactured a criminal case against an innocent person. But the case still continues today. I explained in clear letter from my good self that I, the General Director of USPC, am fully responsible to have outputted the frozen tuna loins. It was my good self who refused to make payment in cash to the gangster fish lady. And moreover, the funds from the sale of the goods arrived into our USPC company bank account. And I am the only person who can sign on the company account. So why and how can the police attack a totally innocent person and say that our vice director took the money? It is totally ridiculous. The police perfectly well know that our vice director had nothing to do in this story of shipping the tuna loins. So why the fabricated police case? What is the reason for the police to interject themselves into a criminal dispute? In Binh Duong, it's a fact that the police, prosecution, and judge will act as one body. So how can an innocent defendant get a fair trial? Fair court trial? Doesn't seem possible. So after this video hopefully goes viral, I wish and hope that the Judicial Committee of the National Assembly in Hanoi will appoint a special investigation team to review the facts, and they will see that the vice director has nothing to do in this case. It is between myself and the gangster fish dealer. Everything I have said in this clip is the truth. USPC is the right one. I hope that the Prime Minister's office and the National Assembly will step in and stop this injustice to protect the human rights of our poor vice director and ensure that foreign investors enjoy the protection of the Vietnamese law. Because if not, it's not fair that innocent persons must suffer. And our company got ruined because a gangster fish lady is working hand in hand with the Binh Duong Police and arranged to get our vice director arrested and charged with zero evidence. All because I refused to pay for her tuna loins in cash money and black money? I mean, what about the law? It's supposed to have meaning for all people, companies, everyone is supposed to be equal under the law. Thank you very much for listening to this video clip.